There you go. Welcome in, Sharpen the Point. For those of you, I guess, who are tailgating, which is probably just like Myron. It's probably just Myron, to be honest, right? I mean, who else would really sit around and tailgate this thing?
Darren usually.
Darren, yeah. But if you are, hey, welcome in. We're doing the Sunday Night Football watch along, even though we're about to hit halftime here in 56 seconds. And college football round 1 recap and reactions, a little bit of quarterfinal preview. Let me blur my backgrounds, that way I don't get bodied by the
DCMA, a little DCMA action.
Yeah, let's make sure that we get
It's all right. We don't have to
There we
worry
go.
about it. Well, we don't have to worry about it because I don't have funding, so it's fine.
Look, man, I don't want the little algorithm scanning the screen and being like, "Oh, football right there, it's live. Pull it down."
Copyright.
Yeah. So no, there we go. Obvious place to start here is recapping of the round 1 we just saw in the last 2 days, the Friday Saturday games, and I told you asked me if we wanted to go in order because that's generally how I do it. I told you I just figured we'd just go straight to the Tulane Ole Miss and the Oregon JMU games together. My first question directed at you is: did we watch the end of G5 auto bids?
I don't know. I think if you did, then you would have to say it's the end if they make a G5 playoff. I think it's possible you see a G5 playoff in their own right, but then you've kind of relegated them to FCS status almost.
So you basically just made a second FCS.
Division.
FCS
right.
plus. Yeah.
Yeah, you basically made an FCS plus. So the other portion, in which I keep seeing people say, is, oh well, what if they're ranked? They can get in if they're ranked top 12. If you have a team, let's just take a Boise team, right, or a UCF team from a few years ago, and let's say they were ranked 12, and Notre Dame was 13. Do you really think they're not going to switch that at the last second and screw the the G5 team? I mean, the G5 team's going to be screwed at that point. Then you have people saying, well, we should force them to schedule 4 G5, 3 G5, P5, P4 teams in order to qualify to be eligible. There's not going to be the P4 is just not going to schedule them then. Unless you said, which realistically the rule should be, that the P4 teams are required to not schedule a FCS opponent. They should be required to schedule G5 or above. That's the easy solution there. Now, the only other way that these G5 teams are going to be able to compete realistically in the future is if the NIL stuff ends up getting a cap. If there's a cap, then the money's going to be spread more. The talent's going to get spread even more than it is currently. And you have the possibility for these G5 teams to be able to spend enough, the top end ones at least, to be able to keep up. But I fully admit that JMU's team was outgunned. I knew they would be outgunned. And this honestly is not the best JMU team we've had in the past 4 years. The Cignetti team was significantly better, but that's different point. They lost and they weren't eligible. So
I think this was a down year for the G5 champion. I think if it's the thing that really screwed the G5 this year was the ACC shitting the bed. Yeah. Because if Clemson is good and Tulane is the 12 seed and Tulane as the 12 seed goes to Oregon and gets thumped, so be it. We just move it along. But getting 2 becomes a problem because now there's 2 out of 4 games that are, for all intents and purposes, completely worthless.
Yeah, I think the problem I would have with saying that is, and what it's kind of interesting. So like last year, we had the Ohio State Tennessee game, right? And it was 42-17, I think was the final score. It wasn't even that close during the game.
Right.
They got absolutely smoked.
Beatdown doesn't really make much of a difference to me.
The beatdown, I think what the difference is, and I understandably so, that the difference for everybody is that that's an unexpected beatdown, similar to that Oklahoma LSU game, right? LSU just absolutely mud stomped them in 2019. It wasn't even a close game. It was never in doubt.
Yep.
It was very similar to the Ole Miss game, we'll call it, because I believe the Ole Miss Tulane game was far like over faster and was a much worse showing than the Oregon JMU game. Basically, what I would say
After
is
the way the Tulane game went, I decided not to give the second one a second of time, which is part of the
right.
problem.
So, and that's the thing, and TNT really got the ripe end of that bargain because they got both of those games. I think the Ole Miss game was bad. I mean, just downright bad. That was a bad game. Now, granted, when we get to Miami, I'll tell you that game was poorly played too. So was the Alabama game. I mean, none of the 4 games were particularly good football being played, but Ole Miss just absolutely dominated. It never looked like Tulane even had a chance in that entire game.
Their first drive was the puncher's chance, and it felt like they came out of their corner swinging, but it was very clear that every single punch was like pulling teeth. It was the hardest thing in the world. It was like a 14 play drive. They were still 30 yards out, and Retzlaff threw a pick. And I was like, okay, so to move the ball, it took like every play they had to get 11 yards to just move the chains. And you still really weren't close to scoring. And then, like, Shambliss and the gang turned around and was like, bing, bang, boom, back in the end zone, 14-0. And I was like, we can pack it in. I'm good. We can turn it off. I've seen enough.
Yeah.
Even when Ole Miss tried to mess it up, I was kind of like, it is what it is. My issue here is that I'm not anti G5. Like I said, I think this was a bad G5 year.
Mhm.
I think if Clemson is if Miami is your ACC champion, and we just get Tulane in here and we get Miami in here, that obviously changes the seedings a lot. I think we would have seen it be Miami, Notre Dame, Alabama, then Tulane. So you'd have Alabama going to Ole Miss. You'd have, I guess, Notre Dame going to A&M, although they played already, but they don't seem to care about that. So whatever. And then Miami maybe going wherever what's the other one here? Oklahoma.
Yeah, it would have been Miami, Oklahoma.
Yeah, so I mean, I think those games would have been different if Miami just simply is the ACC champion instead of the way this all played out. But I think if this is instead of this Tulane team, and I don't know if this is just a product of the NIL and what we can expect from G5, but I mean, tell me if Tulane is swapped with last year's Boise State, you don't think Boise goes into Ole Miss and has a better chance than this Tulane team does?
I think they would have had a better chance than this particular. I don't think this Tulane team is the best G5 team we've seen in the past 15 years, maybe. I mean, arguably, and
I'm not
I
sure it's the best G5 team this year.
I guarantee that JMU was a far better. If you swapped and you said Tulane had to play at Oregon, I think Oregon still hangs the 51. I just don't think Tulane even scores 20 because that Tulane team was terrible. And like I said, I don't think this is the best JMU team in the last 4 years at all. Maybe definitely the last 3. Let's call it the last 3, but they've only been in the FBS for 4 years. This is probably the 3rd best JMU team. It's better than last year's team, but it's not better than the 2 years prior, in my opinion. And I guess technically speaking, I'd be the subject matter expert on that in this situation. But the thing was, yeah, I've seen every snap of JMU for the past 20 years, probably. But the thing is specifically speaking to this game, I mean, I watched the Tulane game. It was awful, beyond awful. What I will say is this JMU Oregon game, number one, I thought the defense for JMU would play a lot better. That was the most disappointing part to me. Because if you would have told me we score 34 before the game started, I would have
I'd
said
have argued you probably won.
We got a 50-50 shot to win this thing. If you told me we scored 34.
If you said you scored 34, I would have said it was 28, 34, 29, 31, 34, like something like that.
I would have thought like 40, 42 or 37. I would have guessed somewhere in that range. But I mean, I never would have expected giving up 51 in fairness. This game, though, it felt, as much as I felt bad with the first drive, because we drove the ball pretty well in the first drive when we had the ball. It wasn't a 3 and out. We drove it on offense, got the ball first, moved the ball down the field, punted. They just went like 3-4 plays and touchdown. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. We adjust well. It's typical that we adjust well, but we start slow. Understood. Second drive right down, kick a field goal. It's 6-3. I'm like, okay. They go right back down in 5 plays, score a touchdown. It's 13-3. I'm like, okay, going to need to get some points here and going to need to stay on the scoreboard. Hopefully we don't have a 3 and out. Drive right down and miss the field goal. And honestly, on that third down and goal, Barnett misread, this is what my problem was coming into the game. I felt Barnett was going to have a struggle reading plays. Is he misread the blitz. There was a blitz coming off the left side for him, a free runner. They sent Wayne Knight out of the backfield on an angle route out there, and he flared out the backfield, was wide open for a touchdown. Why he didn't go that way to the hot route, I don't know. I'm not surprised by it. He has some Nussmeier reading tendencies. If he throws that ball to the left side, it's a touchdown and we have a 13-10 game, and it changes everything. But the fact was, he doesn't throw that ball. They throws it over the middle, gets batted down. They go to kick the field goal gets blocked. Then they score again. Next thing you know, it's 20-3 instead of what would have been 20-10. And you would have felt like, okay, we're still kind of hanging around here. It was, for all intents and purposes, when it was 20-3, that game was over. Now, argument the other way would be, everybody keeps saying that the starters weren't in for Oregon and they pulled everybody and yada, yada, yada. No. Bear Alexander played the last drive of the game. Dante Moore played every snap of the game. De'Aaron Hill, like Jordan Davison, Noah Whittington in on the last drive of the game. Malik Benson, last drive of the game. Kenyon Sadiq, last drive. Like, they played the starters for the entirety of this game. Did they change the rotations a little bit? Yeah, I would agree with that. But the fact is that this team, down whatever they were down at that point, drove 99 yards for a touchdown at the end of the game, and not against previous defense, because they were sending the house a lot. And they just happened to play well. I was really happy with the way the offense played and extremely disappointed with the way the defense played. Now, what I'm excited about is, because the defense played so poorly in this game, are we able to keep a guy like Sahir West? Are we able to keep a guy, some of these other talented guys on that defense? Because they just kind of saw them. Sahir West had 2 tackles, basically 0 pressure against this team. That is 2 very good tackles. Does he not go to, SEC school? Because coming out of that Sun Belt championship game, it looked like Sahir West was going to be a future Alabama or like high-end SEC team player off of a 5-sack game right there.
I was just going to let you just keep going till you were done with these 2 games. I got nothing else.
Well, no, I mean, I'm moderately excited about the fact that they actually kind of got steamrolled on that end. But hey, look, great teams cover, so I'll take the cover, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with that.
How many was the spread?
21.5. Well, it's 20.5. I think it closed at. And we finished at 17.
I didn't even bother clicking the slip on this one. I just bet both dogs and called it a day. I didn't even bother.
I got every game right, actually, against the spread. I picked Miami. I picked Alabama. I picked JMU to cover, and I picked Tulane to not cover, and Ole Miss to beat them by a lot.
What was that Tulane score? How much they lost by?
41-10, 42-10, something like that.
Only 2 touchdowns away from the cover. So be it. Yeah, I got nothing else here. Like I've got nothing there. I didn't care. I mean, it was, for me, the last point on the G5 playoff spot thing is the complaints are going to come from the execs of the TV networks that got effed, like what Myron's talking about here, the TNT Sports getting absolutely effed, and then the complaints will come from Greg Sankey, who has like all the power in the sport. they'd rather Texas be there than honestly Tulane, obviously, based on how they performed. But I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really care.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm very curious how that conversation is going to go this offseason. So we can go ahead. I see you've got it up here. This Alabama OU game. The one question I had in here, and I told you this, I think we talked about it lab before. That this to me was similar to the betting trend in the NFL that comes around, right? The team that's favored losing at home. In the division foes favored at home who lose and then go on the road later in the season and lose, or are favored again, or the team to bet. Like I think it was Bills Patriots 2 weeks ago. They were home favorites before, lost. Then they were road favorites against the Patriots. So logic said to bet the Patriots there, or the Bills there as road dogs. It works all the time. For me, that was this game, right? We knew Alabama was better than Oklahoma. We saw it on the field. Oklahoma just made all of the right plays, and Alabama made all of the bad ones the first time they played. So in this spot, I think we were both on Alabama here, right? I think the one question that I had was, did additional time make John Mateer look better? I think to some extent it did, but man, I felt like the thing that we talked about before, where it was like the home crowd can become a disadvantage when the game starts to slip away, happened here. Once OU started to have it slide out of their fingers, it just, you could feel the like, oh dear God in the crowd.
Yeah. And it only made it worse because they started out 17-0. If they
Yeah, I
hadn't
mean, it was
started out
partying
seventeen
out. Here we
nothing,
go.
like imagine what would have been if, let's say, Bama started 17-0 and Oklahoma roared back to make it 17-all. I think it was just a mountain of snow just coming down on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I, to your point on Mateer, what my analysis said, I thought he looked pretty comfortable in the pocket. I thought he ran the ball fine in situations.
Fine.
Man, if he threw a dime to Xavier Robinson and it was a touchdown,
It was ball
and he
game right
flat
there.
out dropped it. That was
Yeah.
the game ender. If Rob and everybody on the TV show is obviously sitting there going, "Well, he should have," yeah,
Yeah, Myron's
he
right.
should have.
That was so bizarre, to be honest. It was very strange.
A sidebar comment on this. So I'm watching something earlier.
For those
Earlier,
maybe listening or not reading the comment section, Myron says he
yeah.
blames 50 Cent. He actually hyped up Alabama more than OU, and that was definitely true.
So story that goes with that. So I'm watching something earlier in that day, and a guy comes up and he says, yeah, I think it was Bob Does Sports. Says he's refereeing a little person wrestling match, and one of them's name was 25 Cent. And that every time I see 50 Cent now, all I can think about is 25 Cent coming out as a wrestling name. I love it. But I really do think that was the game changer right there. Each of these games, to an extent, outside of the one crap game, had a game-changing, game-defining moment. And the defining moment was the Xavier Robinson drop. You really obviously wish there was a wide receiver on the end of that ball. But the thing that stood out to me with Mateer from a scouting perspective is everything inside of the hashes, or the numbers, we'll say, was perfect. It was laser beams, or on target, dead nuts on. Everything outside, his footwork's terrible. Full on, his footwork's terrible. His arm angle sucks. And everything to the outside, those longer throws, you could tell because he was sailing them. He's getting his arm under, like his hands under the ball, and it was causing it to rise, which is causing it to overshoot a lot of those guys. And his touch on the outside on those longer throws was just terrible. But everything over the middle of the field was absolutely perfect and absolutely beautifully timed, on target. And Xavier Robinson absolutely let him down. I think it's a legitimate argument we can now make that Ryan Williams is the third best wide receiver on his own team, because Lottie Brooks, I've been kind of touting for most of the year as one of the studs on that roster, and he's really good, but I don't think anything matters for the most part because neither of these teams had a run game, and we kind of knew that Oklahoma was super flawed, Alabama was super flawed. I didn't think Ty Simpson looked good. I
No.
thought Jeremy Bernard didn't look great, even in this one, which I'm a big Bernard believer. But the Isaiah Satania spam button was negated for sure.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of what we expected. The run games were kind of bad. Kind of bad feels like really underselling it for how it went. Mateer was rough. Like I said, I think he just kind of he kind of obviously was never the same player from after the hand injury. So I'll give him a pass for trying to fight through on kind of his performance overall. He played fine situationally, like you said, ran well. Um, I don't know. It kind of was exactly what I thought it would be. It was two very flawed teams, and that when I told you that people were arguing over who shouldn't be in the playoff, I thought Oklahoma was the team who in terms of eye test least belonged. Then Alabama probably next for me, because they just neither one of them looked like teams that could legitimately win the championship heading into the playoffs. So to see them both kind of put together, let's see who's less bad of a performance was kind of what it is. We can get to the future of Alabama here in a little bit, but you got this Miami game up. I actually popped into a walk-ons here and over in actually in Lakeland. I was doing some shopping with my son for my wife this weekend and said, "Hey, there's a walk-ons right here. We'll go watch the first half of this game." And Jesus Christ, the first half of this game, huh?
So the thing that stood out to me most in this game, my biggest takeaway was Marcel Reed, awful. But number one was Mario Cristobal still does not understand or have a concept of how to coach an in-game situation. Mark Fletcher is just over here ripping off chunks left, right, and center, and he has to. There must be some kind of contractual obligation to get Malachi Tony at least 10 touches, because Fletcher should have gotten 30 carries in this one. The man was averaging 8 yards a carry at halftime, and it moved up to 10 after half. They finally figured it out late in the game,
He
but it
ripped that
took
60
that long.
yarder that set up the game winning. I mean, the big run that set up that long drive. When they got pinned back deep, I was like, okay, so we're gonna head to overtime here because these two teams can't move the ball at all.
Yeah, and I was actually kind of excited to finally see that happen. From a competitive standpoint, I was in mid debate trying to say which of these teams would I enjoy watching play next week in that game more. Um, I'll be honest, I kind of thought A&M I'd be more interested in seeing take on Ohio State, from the fact that I felt like their passing game, if everything clicked for Reed, could be a fun matchup, but they have zero run game, whereas Miami at least has a run game. But I just feel like Beck being a statue back there is going to get absolutely swallowed up by that defensive line. And that was kind of the concern. I really was kind of hoping this thing was going to overtime, and I could see A&M kicking a field goal right in the first. This is the whole story I had play out in my head while I'm watching A&M drive down the field. And I'm like, okay, A&M goes down, scores. We go to overtime. A&M gets the ball first, kicks a field goal, doesn't go anywhere. And then Miami just marches down the field with behind the run game, and they turn around, try to throw it from like inside the 5, and Beck gets pressure and throws an interception. Like, that just felt like this is what's coming. This game's going to be 13-10.
Well, we talked about it last week that it was going to be the turnover deciding game, right? Which quarterback did it? Reed and Beck were both just dying to do it. I mean, only 20 pass attempts for Beck. I think he was sacked at least 4 times. You got that there on the chart?
I got 2 sacks.
2? Okay. Well, 2. So be
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I mean, so was that 22 dropbacks? I mean, they ran the ball not many times either. They didn't really have the ball much, did they?
No, they had 28 carries for a buck 75, including 4 carries for Carson Beck.
Yeah, so it was mostly, 35 carries, 40. Yeah, so A&M ran a ton more plays here at home, had the ball a ton. Is it just as simple as this game was decided because the field goal kicking sucked on both sides?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
A&M had like what, a 20-yarder get blocked because the kid kicked it about 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah,
Um,
A&M, I that's what so that was my takeaway at halftime was because my dad got home at halftime of this game, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, it's 0-0. Like, what's been going on in the game?" I said, "Well, A&M actually has dominated this first half, like
and moved the
yardage
ball
wise.
very well,
Yeah,
hit
and
long
Miami didn't do
passes,
anything
so
other
be
than
it.
run the football." So I was like, "Okay, well, A&M's dominating this game. I feel pretty good about A&M in the second half." And then that's when Reed kind of imploded.
The I feel like if that 22-yard field goal goes in, this game looks nothing like this ended up looking. Um, Miami's missed field goals were understandable. I mean, they were 40 something, 50 something. With the wind in that stadium that day was I think understandable misses. Not to say like any miss, like because we just expect kickers to be like you got to make them all, but like they were understandable misses. But like A&M getting a kick from inside the 5 blocked in the first half, and it was felt like the first team to score was going to win the game was just unreal. And then to see the struggle A&M had for much of that second half to move the ball, to get it there on that last drive and just make it look so easy. Um, I personally, and I mean, I get armchair quarterbacking. This thing sounds so easy, but there was what, 30 something seconds left when they turned that ball over at the end, 36 or something. I
Yeah.
honestly, they had the timeout because of the concussion causing bone jarring hit there at the goal line. Up to your interpretation whether or not you thought that was targeting. I didn't feel like it
I
was.
did. Yeah,
I
I thought they were gonna call it. I really thought they were gonna review it and call that because it was helmet to helmet in with a launch.
I, I'm I'm always in the realm of targeting exists to make guys not intentionally hit people head to head. And that was like he's turning and trying to get to, oh my God, I don't know where the ball, we just hit faces together, as opposed to like, I'm gonna take this guy's head off.
Yeah.
But by letter of the law, I could see the call. But for me, A&M had that timeout basically, right? That was effectively a timeout. You've got 38 seconds left. You get the ball at like the 3. I probably would have tried to pop a run there. I feel like a draw had a chance. And if you don't score, you have 4th and goal at the 2, the 1, maybe at worst the 3 where you still are. And you basically have 40 seconds to get a play call in.
Yeah.
Like, you can run it. But to ask Marcel Reed to try and find a window from the 3 with the way Ruben Bain was playing in this game was just a really tough ask. Especially when you figure you called your best play from the 3 on first down, called your second best one on second down. I felt like a quick popped run on third down probably had a better chance than asking him to try and find another tight window there.
The thing I don't get is who they were targeting on those plays. That's what bothered me the most. It's like, why are you going to a tight end at the goal line in that situation? And you've got a Mario Craver, you got Ashton Betham Roman, you got Casey Concepcion, and you don't draw up something to get one of them on the edge somewhere. Like, why are you going to a tight end? And he didn't even like the tight end was open, in
He was
fairness.
open. If he
He
gets it out
just threw
about
it
2 seconds,
behind
a half
him.
second sooner, it's a touchdown. Yeah.
He just had to throw it up and in towards the middle away from trouble, and he threw it so far behind him. But how do you not like run a sweep, like a little touch sweep pass to Craver or Bethel Roman? Or do you get Concepcion on the edge and throw a little screen out there, like something to the edge? Because I think at that point, Le'Veon Moss went down early in this one. Reuben Owens was banged up towards the end of this one. I think neither one of them was on the field. I'm pretty certain Craver subbed himself out after that first down play, which made it a bigger issue because now you were left with Concepcion and Bethel Roman. Like, I don't even think Craver was in on the final play. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense how they ended up playing that because I think Bussy came in for Craver. But how do you not get Bussy on something on an end around right there? Like, none of that makes any sense that you don't get it to one of the 4 good weapons you have at that point. I'm fine with Reed throwing. I just don't understand how your target is not one of your top 4 weapons in your offense.
You got any more here? I did tell you Miami what chance had the team that had a chance to win the championship, and here we are, final 8. I was right. Just
Yeah, you said they were good. You're never wrong. Just late or just early, I guess.
just early. Yeah. Well, I said it, and then they went on to lose 2 straight or 2 out of 3, and then I was like, well, I was wrong. Don't know
Never
why I opened
wrong,
my
just
mouth, and here
early.
we are, baby, final 8. I think I think there are 6 teams left with a legitimate chance to win the title.
I would say 2, 3, 4. I would say 5, but sure.
You're taking Miami out.
Oh hell no! Yeah, yeah, buddy. That line. So to give you an idea, I was laughing. I had what's his face? Brett McMurphy was dropping what he thought the opening lines were going to be. He said Ohio State -5. I went immediately to find that line,
8?
and it was like, I will bet the house on that. It's at 9.5 now. I was hoping it was going to open at sub 7, and I would have taken all of it.
I wish you'd have asked me that over under before you showed it to me, because I feel like I would have guessed 40.
Yeah. It's close.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I think Miami opened at like 16.5 on over under.
Team total?
Yeah. I like the under. But yeah, I think that we have 5 teams fairly confidently. The only game that pits 2 teams that I'm extremely confident in is this Oregon-Texas Tech game. I think either one of them is a super threat to get to the title game. Whoever survives that game is a threat for the title game.
So this Miami-Ohio State game, we both previously picked Ohio State. I assume we're both still in that corner.
Yes, I have a little. Oh, hello, buddy. Is that the dog that bit your face off one time?
No, this is my dog. She's a sweet little angel. It's just my wife just getting home here from down the street, so no big deal.
So I do have a little money line parlay that I use the little boost feature on of Ohio State and Indiana money line, and I got it at, I think it was like plus 200 with when I got it. So I really liked that. But yeah, I don't see any way, shape, or form that Miami's able to stop anything on the Ohio State side.
I think the path is going to have to be Miami runs the ball incredibly well. Carson Beck looks moderately decent, which good luck with that. But I mean, that's the path. It has to be Malachi Toney makes special plays, doesn't get tripped up on the punt return like he did in this game. And Fletcher continues this game he just had. And you hope, I'm giving Miami the chance to win this in the same way that I gave like JMU a chance to, they're going to have to keep the ball. They're going to have to keep it close. They're going to have to force Ohio State to play a close game. And then in that situation, what does Ohio State look like? We saw that against Indiana, but have they done that any other point this year? No. So, I mean, if that becomes that kind of situation, can Miami play a spoilery role? I don't know. This is the one in Atlanta, right?
No, that would be, yes, it is. Yeah.
Because I know Ole Miss, Georgia's in New Orleans.
Indiana, Alabama's in the Rose Bowl, and then Oregon, Texas Tech is Miami.
Yeah,
I think it's Miami. Right. Yeah, but like the thing is, so a question for you is because I've seen enough Malachi Toney at this point. Do you think he lacks a top gear on him? I don't think he's fast. I think he's quick. I don't think he's fast because he continuously has these plays. Now, I will say in the Florida State game, I saw him break away, but I have seen more than one play where I thought, okay, he's housing this thing. And if he was Tyreek Hill, he would have housed it, but only to get tripped up by somebody who shouldn't be able to touch him in that situation, a la that punter being able to trip him up. I don't think he has that top gear that you really think he would have when you look at these things. He has good burst. He doesn't have long speed.
I was going to say he's jittery fast, if that makes sense. Like, I need to find a gear to turn this corner he has. Yeah, but like pull away for 30 yards kind of speed, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think he's got the turn the corner speed.
Yeah, I'm worried about his long-term prospects, to be honest, because I don't know that he has that elite speed to be able to break away at another level. I think he's going to struggle mightily in this situation.
I mean, this could be it could be a situation where he's a freshman, right? I mean, he's got time to grow and build the leg strength and those sort of things that could go with it. But regardless, I'm going to skip that Oregon Texas Tech real quick. I'm giving Alabama no chance to beat Indiana.
Yes, I agree with that. I Man, it's just I think it's a question of just how many points does Indiana put up. Indiana's going to be able to work the middle of the field, similar to the way Oklahoma did. Surratt should have a field day in that center of the park. Sit down, go 15, sit down, turn around, show your numbers, and they're just Indiana does lack a run game, in my opinion, a competent like high end run game, but they're just going to be able to Alabama's going to have to throw the ball. And can they really get open and scheme it open against the Signetti and Bryant Haynes defense? Both coordinators for Indiana have now been locked up on long-term deals. So Indiana's here to stay for quite a while at this point.
And the Georgia Ole Miss game here, I've seen the Ole Miss fan base because I have managed to lock myself in both Florida and Ole Miss in the algorithm, given the Lane Kiffin coaching search that I'll remind them landed him in Baton Rouge, not in those two schools. But the general sentiment from the Ole Miss fan base currently is we've got our coach. Thanks for helping us get our feet underneath us, but you guys can keep the offensive coaching staff now in Baton Rouge. We've got it all figured out from here. Which, to be honest, I'd love that. They lose by like 70. I don't see how this is close.
So, reminder, when these two teams played the last time, Ole Miss hung 35. Ole Miss hung 35 on them. That was with Lane. I don't think they even sniff 30.
Well, I mean,
Georgia this time. Georgia is way better than they were when they played Ole Miss the first time. Georgia's only gotten better.
That's the main thing I was going to say is that Georgia's gotten a lot better. I mean, Charlie Weiss Jr. They'll everyone and anyone will have that he calls the plays, so he's the play caller, not Lane. But Tulane and John Sumrall going to Oxford to face Ole Miss is a lot different than Ole Miss and Pete Golding facing Kirby Smart in this situation. It's a totally different situation at this point. I'm not saying that Pete is necessarily had a layup in week 1, but getting to play at home against a G5 team that you've already beaten by 30 this season, and it is kind of that. You now have to go to a playoff game in New Orleans. I get that's a little bit closer for you, but it's not exactly like a home game. You're not rolling out of your own bed. You're on the road. You are the head coach of a football team for real this time, and you're doing it against. I mean, any arguments on Kirby being the best coach in the country?
Ooh, I like Dan Lanning, but yeah, you got to go with the mentor, not the mentee in that situation.
Yeah. So I mean, I like Chambliss. I like Lacey a lot.
Yeah, but Lacey's banged up.
Yeah, well, that was a shoulder injury as it appeared, right?
Yeah, it was a shoulder. He declined the harness and immediately went back out a couple plays into the second half. He probably could have returned, but honestly, he didn't even land on the shoulder the second time he felt hurt. I think he's going to end up having to play with the brace this time. How long does he last? Georgia's much tougher opponent from that standpoint. Can Chambliss really pull one out of the bag here? I don't know. Did you see some of the rumblings that Chambliss might not even play in this game, like against Tulane, that they might roll with Simmons and Chambliss was leaving already? But that was some of the scuttlebutt that was going around. It wasn't true at all. But there is a commercial currently playing that has Chambliss. It's with him in the transfer portal.
Yeah, so I saw that, and someone said that the Ole Miss Collective organized that commercial. So like it was like he transferred here commercial. If he gets an extra year of eligibility, it seems that him and Lacey are both Baton Rouge bound. That seems clear and obvious at this point. They've both been asked about it and both been like, well, we just got to consider the best for my future. And they're like, is that here? And they're like, well, we'll see. It could be anywhere. Who's to say? But yeah, Chambliss looked to me like he got concussed in that game. I think, I mean, obviously he got evaluated and was out there for a little bit when Simmons came back in. And then Chambliss took back over. It's no secret that Chambliss is just simply better than Simmons, but I assume in 2 weeks' time he'll be plenty fine to play here. But
Yeah.
I just think Georgia's just light years better at this point. Georgia's gotten a lot better from that first game. I think Georgia's, legitimately the probably second or third best team in the country here. Obviously, that's their ranking, but to me, it seems pretty straightforward. I'd lay the points in all three.
Okay. Well, I was just going to see that was plus 144. What is this? Plus 525. Use your
Yeah,
30% boost.
maybe Ohio State. I'd do as the money line instead of the 10 because that's just a big number.
Let's just say that. That's plus 326.
Yeah, I'm good there.
I actually kind of like that. The under. But anyway, yeah, you could play Miami team total, whatever. I was just curious what it was, money line all the way across the board.
So this Oregon Texas Tech game, I think everyone is. Man, I'm going to do the thing that I did before the season and hope it works out the same way. In case you're new here and haven't paid attention at the beginning of the year, my complaint to open the season was everyone on planet Earth was behind Clemson to win the national title. Somehow, given what 140 teams in D1, every single person had the same national champion, and it was Clemson. And I said, it just doesn't make sense. Why is everyone on the same team on the same thing here? Anyone and everyone who seems to be picking one of these things has Oregon winning. Everyone is like, man, everybody's sleeping on Oregon. And in those situations, I always just gravitate to the opposite side because it's college football. We know nothing. And when everyone is gathered together on one side saying, well, I'm smarter than everyone, I've figured this out, but everyone is on the side of I'm smarter than everyone, I figured this out. I just trend to the other side. So to me, yes, I see Oregon. I get it. Everyone's like, well, look what they did to JMU. You talked about it before. That's kind of what they were supposed to do to JMU. I don't know what Oregon has done that should make me feel like they should be. Now, they're not the quote unquote favorites, but they're everyone's favorite to win the title.
So the one question I'd have is I'm very happy to do that and just pick Texas Tech. I just would really prefer if somebody could crystal ball me and let me know that Bayron Morton plays the entire game. If Bayron's healthy, I'll play. I mean, whoever wins this game, I will bet against Indiana. Either one of them. Don't care which one. If it's Oregon, I'll take Oregon because Oregon's going to be playing Indiana for the second time. They probably learned some stuff, yada, yada, yada. They're going to be a lot more healthy. They're a lot more healthy right now than they were. I'm pretty certain Evan Stewart will be back, yada, yada. Texas Tech, I will take against Indiana. I have no issues doing that, mainly because that defensive front for Texas Tech, there's a legitimate argument that they should have 3 of the 4 first-team All-American defensive linemen. A legitimate argument. Now, they probably are going to end up with 2. They might have ended up with 2. I don't know whether first-team All-Americans came out. I think it did. But I'm pretty certain. I know David Bailey is on that. Let me see. First-team All-American college football. I'm actually legitimately curious. There's the FWAA. All right, let's go with well, here you go. 2025 AP All-American team. I'm actually legitimately curious here. Defense. Ooh, they only got 1 in David Bailey. They should have gotten 2. Yeah. So what's on the second team? Second team, AJ Holmes. Yeah, that's who I was expecting. I thought AJ Holmes would be on the first team. And then on third team, the other defensive tackle, Lee Hunter. So it's quite literally all 4 Texas Tech defensive linemen on the first 3 All-American teams.
I mean, they're unbelievable. I'm on Texas Tech here, and that's simply just because everyone's on the other side of it. It's just my way. I was already on Texas Tech, which helps. I get that's confirmation bias on my end. But God, if I see one more video from a college football sharp telling me to get my futures in on Oregon to win the title, I'm going to just roll my eyes to the back of my head.
Well, in fairness, we were the college football sharps that said, what was it, 3 months ago, that you should have Texas Tech as your national champ future bet.
Yeah, that one should have been in your pocket since what, late September?
Yeah, easily late September. We were in on that before the Utah game. So, but that was also pre Will Hammond injury. So,
You know what's
I
funny?
wish they could transfer Brendan Sorsby there right now. That would be optimal.
Could we go back to when we talked about the Illinois win over Duke, and we were like, "That's a really good Duke team," and then Duke was terrible for like 3 weeks. But when Duke lost to Illinois, we were hyping Illinois on that Duke team could win the ACC championship. That Duke team is loaded. It's got a great defense. They've got a great quarterback. That Duke team could win the conference. And then they lost a bunch of games. And we were like, damn, that Duke team might suck. And then they won the conference, even though they did suck.
Look, I would say for most of the takes this season, I've not been wrong. I've just been early.
Yeah, we're just getting there.
That's all. We've been hot,
Georgia Tech was a tough one. What was our guy to win the Heisman?
Yeah, I had some Haynes King.
Yeah,
I had some Haynes King early.
Jeremiah Love made a run at it there.
Yeah, my top guys early were Jeremiah Love, Haynes King. Hey, in fairness to me, my long shot bets to win the Heisman were Haynes King, Jeremiah Love,
Pavia.
No, I didn't have Pavia. Blake Horvath, and DeMond Williams. So all the other three finished in the top 10 in Heisman voting, and they were all 50 to 1 or more.
Well, and in fact, we did when we talked Heisman preseason. I said, Heisman's a storytelling award. We just did Jaden Daniels, dude with ridiculous stats on a losing team. Then we did Travis Hunter, dude on a losing team who plays both sides of the ball above average to pretty great. I wouldn't say Heisman level on either side of the ball, but above average to pretty great on both sides. And then this year, I said it had to be winner guy. Don't worry about stats. Worry about winner guy. Just didn't say Fernando Mendoza was winner guy, but sure enough, he was certainly winner guy.
I think we thought that Indiana might fall off a bit this year.
Just a little. I mean, they didn't have to be the greatest team in the history of the planet. I mean, the dude threw for like 2,000 yards and still won the Heisman just because he was winner guy.
Yeah.
I thought you had to at least look like a Heisman quarterback, but he did that one drive against Penn State, and they just put it on his shelf right then and there.
Pretty much. Michael Jordan floating in the air catch by Omar Cooper away from not being it. So, all right. Let's get into this Monday thing so I don't need to do a video on this tomorrow. I'm sure Brian's going to tune in because he loves watching some Washington State, Utah State action, a little Bronco Mendenhall on a Monday.
I need Jonathan Taylor to tear his Achilles before the game starts to have a chance to win a fantasy game. So, yeah, I'll probably tune into this one, honestly, because
I think this
Taylor's
is
going to snap my...
Yeah, this is a 1 p.m., buddy. This is a 1 p.m. You got
okay, I'll do it at work then. Yeah.
Afternoon game. So, important notes in this one. Basically, half of Washington State's team is in the portal because their coach is gone now. Kirby Voorhees is not going to play in the bowl game. They are allowing some of the players in the portal to play in this game. Kirby Moore is now the new coach. That is, what's his name? Kellen Moore's brother. So it'll be a good system for Wazoo going forward. Do expect Zevi Eckhouse to play. He is going to get 10 to 12 carries in this one. He's a positive in the rushing department. Does not throw for a ton of yards, but it all is very concentrated in this offense. The starting running back, Kirby Voorhees, is not going to play. That is a definite. I'm going towards Angel Johnson as the starter more than likely. He's not been particularly productive, but I'm going to bank on the fact that he's probably going to end up being the starter more than likely. I did debate that one, though. I just don't love any of the other lower tier options. The key to this slate from Wazoo lost to JMU too. And JMU beat them by more than UVA and Ole Miss. So put some respect on the Dukes for beating them better than two playoff teams did. All right. So I think Eckhouse is a very good play. I don't think you need to go down. I did debate going down because Tony Freeman is going to be the key to this slate, in my opinion. Tony Freeman is in the portal, but he was at Kirby Moore's opening press conference, and I did find one report from one rando dude that says Tony Freeman's going to be allowed to play in said game. Kirby Moore was the architect of the Missouri offense under Luther Burden, where he caught like 96 passes. So I expect Tony Freeman may be interested in staying around for that particular style of offense. Otherwise, you get some interesting stuff here. So Carter Pabst is probably going to be out for this one as well. That leads me, I think all of the pass volume goes through Josh Meredith and Tony Freeman. I don't particularly like Utah State's defense. I mean, their defense is just abysmal. That is a staple of a Bronco Mendenhall's team and system. So I kind of want to pick on them. I would prefer to be able to get a second Utah State wide receiver here. I debated this spot with Josh Meredith as to whether I wanted to go get, where's my man Javin Jacobs at? I like Javin Jacobs a good bit. He's pass catcher out of the backfield for Utah State. I'm still debating that, but I don't know if I want Angel Johnson. I want Zevi, and I want Tony Freeman. I want Bryson Barnes. I know he's playing. The number one wide receiver for Utah State is out. That is Braden Pagan, the 6'4" wide receiver. He is not going to play in this one. He's in the portal as well. He's priced at $1,000 right here. He has notably been ruled out. He opted out of the bowl game. We knew that. He does not have an out tag, so hopefully some people play him like they're being dumb. But I think we're getting tiny ownership on Tony Freeman. Maybe he ends up opting out and I look like a daggone fool tomorrow. But Bryson Barnes to Brady Boyd is going to be your top stack option on the Utah State side. And then I really do think Meredith and Freeman with Eckhouse makes a ton of sense. And then that way I get all of the run volume on the Washington State side, depending if I'm right or not on the running back options. Pulasi, him being banged up, I just don't think he ends up playing in this one. So maybe Pulasi ends up playing, but I think it's going to be Angel Johnson as the likely top option. Granted, Maxwell Woods kind of looking a little interesting here. He had 10 carries against JMU. I'm going to look into that, but I think I'm going to end up on Angel Johnson more than likely if I was to pick one. I don't know. Now I've just made myself torn. I hate when that happens. But I am going to want a Utah State running back for sure. So that's kind of where I'm landing. I think I want Utah State, Washington State. I want as many Washington State players as I can get with this single pairing because Barnes is kind of the RB1. I don't like the price on Miles Davis. I don't like the price there. And I don't like the price on Javin Jacobs. Well, I don't mind the price on Javin Jacobs, but it makes me miss out on Meredith. So that's where I'm landing on this particular slate in the, what is this? Is this the Idaho Potato Bowl? Yep, famous Idaho Potato Bowl on the Smurf turf. So yeah, that's what we got, boss. How you feel about this game? You looking forward to this one?
I have Washington State plus 1.5.
Yeah, you like Wazoo on the money line there?
I just
to win.
I do a bowl pick 'em, and that's what I took.
Yeah, I kind of like Washington State too because of Eckhouse. But as always, as usual, I give the disclaimer to please follow the news within the 30 minutes before the game starts. I will right now set an alarm for myself for 30 minutes before the game starts. And I will have some people that send me information about that time. And per usual, I wish I would be live at that point and I would be able to provide said information at the last minute, but I cannot because I do not have that capability to be live 24/7 at this point. But
it's also a Monday.
Well, if I was, doing this as a full-time job, then we wouldn't have to worry about that. I'd be live right before the game. Yeah. If we had this and this was our full-time gig and we got enough support, we'd just do this. It'd be fun. But alas, we can't. So, oh well. But yeah, keep an eye on it. And Tuesday we get a 3-gamer. Looking forward to that. I will be live on Tuesday morning. We get old Toledo, Louisville in the Boca Raton Bowl. I think that's a fun one. Tucker Gleason will be out for that one. Toledo is going to be starting Caleb Osborne under center. He's a freshman. Jason Candle already gone. So there's a lot of issues with the Toledo side. And Miller Moss is scheduled to play. Chris Bell is out. But and my favorite quote from that game is Jeff Brom saying he hopes that one of the running backs plays.
One quick correction from earlier in the show: the Miami Ohio State game is in Arlington, AT&T Stadium. So I said Atlanta. That's Arlington. So
Atlanta's the following week. Is that so Georgia's going to end up in Atlanta?
I believe so.
Oh, good God! They only play in like 3 stadiums.
It might be Glendale. Let me pull up the chart.
Okay, I'm hoping so because good gravy, man. If Georgia somehow
plays at home, they play at home. They play in Atlanta, or they play like at Alabama. That's like their or they play in Jacksonville. It's the only spot. No, Fiesta Bowl would be Georgia.
Oh, okay, good. So we don't have to worry about Georgia having another home game. Yeah, because they basically play in New Orleans or Georgia. They somehow got Georgia Tech to let them not have a home game and play play it in Atlanta in the Georgia Dome.
Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, whatever. Same thing.
They blew the Georgia Dome up.
Yeah, well, it was a great place. So anyway, appreciate Brian dropping in and taking some time with us and talking through a little bit of ball. And we'll probably not be back until after these games. That's what I would say.
Probably 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say 2 weeks until after the quarterfinals, before the semis would go live.
So maybe January 2nd, probably. I'm out of town that weekend of the 3rd and the 4th. So I think the 2nd.
Yeah,
probably the best.
We could do it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it sometime in there. We'll figure that out. We'll figure out either maybe it'll end up being a January 1st, right after the games or right during the end of the game ends nightcap. We'll see. Somewhere in there. We'll figure something out. We'll have something come up and we'll be live for it. And then, but yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. And I will be back Tuesday for the 3-gamer and then all week long. Even then, my favorite game this week, by the way, Christmas Eve, Hawaii Cow, book Cow, take your points, lay them, get your cow money lines in. That's my favorite bowl bet of the season. No Jackson Harris for Hawaii, and Sagapolo Tele is going to absolutely go nuclear on Christmas Eve. Get your lays ready, sit back, relax, watch some good Hawaii on Hawaii action. Pretty much.